video features the most underrated brawlers in all of Brawl Stars. Even if you don't have all of these brawlers, it's still important for you to watch to the end of this video so you know which brawlers to unlock and max out next. Alright guys, the first brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be RT. Now RT is slept on because other long-range brawlers like Piper and Byron really overshadow him in the current meta. Even though RT has a narrow projectile hitbox and it's a little more difficult to hit his shots sometimes, he's still a great sharpshooter to play on opened up maps. But if it's a closed off map, his super will be great to defend himself and melt any aggro brawler he comes across. Now another reason why RT is pretty good is because he can mark up enemies and your teammates or even yourself can deal more damage onto that target. The mark that is placed on the enemies is great for game modes like Knockout, Bounty, and Wipeout to get quicker and unexpected kills. This can be taken to the next level in Barbed Ammo where he can get that guaranteed extra damage every time he connects his attack. Now of course with RT, one of my personal favorite things about his kit is his Mickey Mouse gadget hacks. If an enemy is low and they are marked, you can just use your hacks gadget to finish them off, and there's nothing that target can do to avoid it except for certain situations. As long as you have the enemy under 1400 health, that is a free kill and it always makes me laugh. Now what's really interesting about RT is the rise in his usage rate to his out of line gadget. I know that a lot of people are now using his other gadget out of line since it got reworked, but it really depends on the map you are playing on. This is because his super is great in case you face aggro or tanky brawlers so you can burst them down. Sometimes you may need to just quickly get your super when being pressured hard. Alright guys, the next brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Ruffs. Now ever since Ruffs was released, he has always been a consistent brawler you can rely on. Ruffs is a solid support brawler that can power up himself or his teammates, which can really help them have an advantage in mirror matchups or just to win lane in general. The extra boost in stats can catch the enemies off guard, as it can change certain interactions where your teammates might end up winning. Ruffs can also be a very viable option if you're playing on a map that has lots of walls, since his shots can also bounce off of walls kind of like Rico. With this mechanic, it can catch people off guard and make it easier to hold a lane on specific maps. He is basically like a weaker version of Rico, since his projectiles don't travel as far and there's less projectiles. This will make it harder to hold down a lane as long compared to a brawler like Rico, but the bounce shots are still better than nothing. Now an underrated feature about Ruffs is using his air superiority star power to break open the map. I love using this star power because with how strong tanks and throwers are in this meta, it can be helpful to break down walls and obstacles to expose the enemies. It's also great that your super can deal 120% extra damage to help confirm kills or just deal more damage in general. Alright guys, the next brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Willow. Now Willow, in my opinion, is probably the most underrated thrower in the game. With her dealing 800 damage per second at max level, and it would tick 3 times over 3 seconds, she can deal so much damage to the enemies if she can connect multiple main attacks onto the same enemy. Now one of the reasons why Willow is so strong is because of her super. At this point, it's kind of like a Walmart version of Charlie's super, where you can use it to either stop the enemy or sabotage them, but that's what makes both supers so good. The only tip I want to share with you guys is make sure you're using your super on the correct type of brawlers. Her super is good in many ways, however the super will also fully heal the enemy hit by it. Try to mind control glass cannon brawlers such as Piper or Colt rather than tankier brawlers such as Primo or Frank. You don't want those types of brawlers to heal back up to full health because it's going to be that much harder to take them down. But the true reason why Willow is so frustrating to deal with is because of her Love is Blind star power. This star power will cause the enemies to have a decrease in their reload speed by 30% when they are poisoned from Willow's main attack. This is going to make it easier for your team to cause more pressure since the enemies won't be reloading as quickly, and that alone can help you win more games. So try and tap on multiple targets or the same target for longer so you can get as much value as possible out of this star power. Alright guys, the next brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Lola. Now Lola is such a great brawler to play that has a high damage output. She isn't nearly as strong as Colt, but she can still do a lot of damage with her clone. Even more so if you're using Lola's improvised star power that can help you deal more damage when you're down to your last round. If you think about it, she can be a bit easier to play than Colt since her main attack spread is wider than Colt's. Just putting that out there for you guys. Now speaking of Lola's clone, depending on the situation will dictate where you should be throwing your clone during the match. Placing it close to Lola can help you deal a lot of damage to a single target and eliminate them faster. However, Lola can place it away from her to control a larger area with her damage. This also removes the damage penalty of her ego, causing it to pose more of a threat. Now an underrated feature that is pretty cool about Lola's kit is her stunt double gadget. This is very similar to Larry and Laurie's gadget where you can swap places and also heal at the same time. However, with Lola's, she instantly teleports and also heals more with her gadget compared to the twins. This can come in handy to escape dangerous situations or if you need to quickly heal so that you don't die. Now, something that I personally love about Lola that makes her even more of an underrated brawler is her Sealed with a Kiss star power. With this star power, the projectiles of Lola's ego can heal herself and allies for 223 health per projectile. This not only makes Lola a great damage dealer, but this now turns Lola into a support brawler. If you can hit your teammates on the way to your target, you can damage the enemy but heal up your teammates at the same time. This has to be one of the most underrated star powers in all of Brawl Stars. Alright guys, the next brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Grom. Now Grom can do huge amounts of damage when running his X Factor star power. The projectile shot from Grom's attack can deal up to 30% more damage depending on their distance from the initial impact area. This can catch enemies off guard since you wouldn't really expect a thrower to deal over 2500 damage with just one main attack. This helps Grom's case for being another amazing underrated thrower. Now if you struggle hitting your main attacks with Grom, try out this technique. All you gotta do is just fire 2 shots at the same time. This way, as you bait the enemy to move one way, you can fire your second attack in the direction the enemy is running in to increase your chances of connecting onto the enemy. This kind of goes with any brawler, but when you're using a brawler like Grom, you really need to execute this tip in order to succeed. Now something that I love doing when I'm playing Grom is using his super combined with his radio check gadget. First, I would recommend trying to learn how the knockback works on Grom's super. Once you learn this, you can use his super in combination with his radio check gadget. When you use your super, aim the gadget at where the enemies will be knocked back to. This is very effective as enemies won't be able to dodge the gadget as they are being knocked back by the super. If done correctly, it can deal over 5000 damage. Alright guys, the next brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Buster. Now Buster is such a great brawler to play, especially in ranked. In Masters lobbies, you will see a lot of people picking Buster in maps like Canal Grande, Open Business, Hard Rock Mine, and many more. Any map basically where there are a lot of bushes and walls that Buster can use to get closer to the enemies is a good map for him. He's going to be a great mid to late pick since he isn't like super broken, but he can be strong against and with the right matchups. Now when you're playing Buster, I really recommend trying to close the gap as much as possible between you and the enemy. This is because Buster's main attack does significantly more damage up close than farther away. Take advantage of bushes, obstacles, or thin choke points to ambush and defeat enemies. Using his super will help you walk up closer to the enemies, and that is when you can use your slow-mo replay gadget to pull them in. But hey, speaking of Buster's slow-mo replay gadget, that has got to be one of the best gadgets in the entire game. What's great about slow-mo replay is that it can serve multiple different purposes. You can protect your teammates by pulling in enemies that are trying to chase them down. You can even use your gadget to pull enemies towards you so that you can deal more damage since, like I said, Buster does more damage the closer the enemies are to him. Now to help you charge up your super faster, if you're struggling with that, I'd recommend targeting grouped up enemies since your main attacks do pierce. Now when using Buster's super, make sure to point it in the direction of possible enemy attacks. Remember to strafe in the same direction as the enemy to deflect their attacks and avoid getting hit from the side. Be mindful when using Buster's super as it can be interrupted unless you are running Buster's Kevlar Vest star power. Alright guys, the next brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Stu. Now if you're not multi-dashing with Stu, you need to be doing that with him. If you don't know how, just start off with your super, and right before your attack lands, you want to use your main attack, super, and then use your super again. Now that is what you call a double dash. Now if you can do it even faster, you can use 2 bars of ammo to pull off a triple dash. You want to use your super and main attack in this order: main attack, super, super, main attack, and then use your super again. What's pretty dope about playing Stu is it's great to just poke away and chip away the enemies from a distance. Stu can poke effectively by using his super, his fast alone speed, and his attack's fast supercharge rate. He can fire a shot at the enemy, then dash backwards to avoid their counterfire. This recharges Stu's super if the shots land, which allows him to continuously poke, and once they're low on health, you can use your super to get close to them and burst your attacks to finish them off. Now whenever you're playing Stu, I always recommend to people that you have a super saved up in your back pocket. Now since Stu charges his super with only 1 hit, despite being the assassin with the slowest movement speed, he can easily escape with his super in dangerous situations. This will make him highly mobile and allow him to dodge enemy fire with ease. Stu can use his super to dodge an attack once, get another hit that recharges his super, and use the super again to escape unharmed. Alright guys, the next brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Bee. Now a reason why you should be upgrading Bee is because she's such a good anti-tank brawler. Even though brawlers like Frank and Meg got nerfed, Bee is still going to be great to deal with other tanks that you might see throughout the game. She can also also be a good alternate brawler to play against other long-range sharpshooters as well. Now a tip when you're playing B, I always recommend that you fire your super and then use your supercharged shot. The reason I say this is because if you have your super, you should wait to use it until you get your supercharged shot. This way you can slow down the enemy first and then increase your chances drastically to hit the enemy with the shot that really matters. Now you're not going to play a perfect B every time, you're going to miss your supercharged shot, and even pros do it, but something that will help you is running the insta below star power. With this star power, you'll be able to keep your supercharged shot and try again if you miss on the first try. This can really shock the enemies as they will think you wasted your 4K shot, but lo and behold, they are in for a huge surprise. Now here's a little trick you probably didn't know about B. B will actually take longer to shoot her next shot if you spam the auto aim button. Instead, wait for the shot to reload and instantly press the attack button. This may take practice, but this will boost your overall damage output. Alright guys, the next brawler we're going to be talking about is going to be Pearl. Now the main reason why Pearl is still going to be a good brawler in this meta is because of her gadget Overcooked. This gadget is useful when using her hypercharge to deal 60% extra damage that lasts 3 seconds. Now using Pearl's super with the hypercharge is a waste of your heat bar, so I would recommend just using your main attacks combined with your hypercharge. I would also only recommend using the Overcooked gadget when you have a max heat bar so you can do the most amount of damage. This obviously makes the most sense just to help you defeat the enemies quicker. Now when playing Pro, I really recommend just playing passively in the beginning, getting that heat bar charged up, and then you can go aggro. Once your heat bar is charged up, get as close to people as possible when bursting them down, kinda like with Pam. This brawler is amazing to teach amateur players about ammo conservation. You don't want to be wasting all of your ammo, then you'll never deal a lot of damage with your main attacks, or you'll never heal up since you need to stop attacking in order to heal. Well anyway guys, if you guys enjoyed that ranking video, I highly recommend you guys go check out this ranking video right here.